After, all my friends went off to college, I stuck around and did blue collar work. My dad didn't have a lot of hopes for me because I didn't go to college, and the other 6 siblings in my family did. So he always said, Patrick, you're going to end up doing blue collar work or whatever. So I kind of figured that. But I said, Dad, I don't want to work for anyone. I want to start my own business. And he said, think of something that nobody else wants to do. Like the guy that cleans out a sewer. He was using examples like that. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, find a niche that someone else doesn't want to do. So I thought, well, what about moving furniture? Nobody wants to do that. So I started a moving business. And it went quickly, very well. And then I was cleaning gutters. I'm thinking, well, I can clean gutters. Nobody wants to do that. And then I ended up franchising that gutter cleaning business into something else. I can't believe I franchised a gutter cleaning business. And then I merged with that guy later on. This is small potatoes, and I sold the company. So, but it's still going on today, and that was a long time ago. I tried
and
to be
your niche for that was any house, any size, gutter cleaning for $39.
$39.95. No ups, no extras.
And some of these on the North Shore were 10,000 square feet homes.
But you know what? To clean the gutters, I always thought the worst case scenario, it's going to take me an hour. And if I only make, $39, I make $39. But I wanted to get a crew going, and I did. I got several crews. All my buddies that went off to college, they all worked for me in the summer. My siblings all worked for me. Everybody worked for me in the summer. I had the jobs, but they were tough jobs, cleaning gutters and moving furniture. My buddies were all in that.
And painting.
And just like my dad said, you're going to work with your hands. So I did. And when I got to there's other little businesses I did and I invested in that didn't work out. I tried to sell water filters a long time ago. I did a few other things. I tried to get a job at the Board of Trade. Being a trader, I always thought I'd be a good trader because I like risk and I like finance. And nobody would even...
And you understood the markets.
Yeah, I always did. My dad was into the markets, so I always followed the markets. And I always thought, I said, Dad, my dad had some dough. And I said, Dad, what if you just put like $1 million? And this is when I was younger and I didn't know that much. I'm like, just buy this stock for like 15 minutes. It'll move like 10 cents and then, 10 cents. That's the way I traded. But it was I did it with millions and it was, I just traded for dimes. They're called scalping the market. Or I traded options, which is so complicated. It's funny, I never knew anything about math or algebra. But you give me an options chain and I can tell you immediately if this is going to be a good trade, a bad trade. It's quick thinking math into your brain. Anyone that trades options knows. It took me years to figure it out. I feel like I could teach a course on that now in college, but...
So we were just talking about this, reminiscing about the 3 ways you really made money.
In the end, after I married you,
but let me
I
finish.
had 2 restaurants.
It was restaurant business, real estate, and trading.
That's what built the monster wealth.
So the restaurants you said were reliable.
They're the annuity. They would always throw off between $600 and $1 million every year. So,
and that's
the
profit.
Trading could be I've lost $1 million in a day and I've made $1 million in a day. I've only done both of those once, and I didn't tell you about when I lost $1 million. It was actually 1.2 million, but it was in a day and it was right around Christmas. I just held it to myself, and then the next day I got up and I did some revenge trading. I wasn't afraid. I was like, I'll go back in. I got, $1 million hurt me, but it didn't kill me. It didn't put me out of business. But I went and did some revenge trading, and I think I made back $400,000 the next day, and maybe $250 the next day. And that's when I quit trading for 2 years because I had too much going on. I'm like, that was dumb stuff. I think I was drunk.
I thought you quit trading when you went into AFib, when I had to drive you to the emergency room.
So I went back into trading after, this was in 2000 we're talking about, when I was making all that money. I took 2 years off, maybe a year off, and I went back to trading. It got even better. Like the money was just coming, it was sick. I hate telling these stories because
but you had to have
I wanted to win. It wasn't about the money. You know this, Mary. I mean, you remember I came down for dinner that one night, and you're like, what are you all pissed off about? And I said, you know why I'm pissed? I made $8,000 a day. I was up 120. I dumped all that money on the table, and I only walked away with $8,000. And what did you say? You're like,
I
were
said,
just
are you
cleaning gutters.
kidding me? I said, listen to what you just said. I said, when we were dating, there was one time that we went dating. We had no money between us. We had $3, and we went to the store and bought bread and eggs and syrup.
And we made French toast.
And we made French toast for dinner.
And, potatoes.
Yeah.
Leave it
and
to the
then
Irish, go back to the
you were
potatoes.
doing gutter cleaning that could be 10 minutes on a small little house or an hour to make $39. And all of a sudden you were like, I only made $8,000 in a day.
I was screwed up, Mary.
And I was like, what? Think about what you just said.
It's the sickness of the money. It's the hunger. You keep going back for more. I don't know why, because I had everything. I could buy anything I wanted to. And I don't say that trying to be a jerk. I'm just telling you, that's the worst thing ever happened to me. Is by the time I was 30, I had, what did we have? We had a couple $1,000,000. And we were young, uneducated. We bought a house in Kenilworth.
I was educated. I went to school.
You were educated, yes. You went to college. You got all A's, I know. I'm a dropout, but...
But how much did you have to start? People are going to say, oh, I want to do that trading thing. Patrick, do a class and show us how to do it.
Okay,
but
so...
you have to have how much money that would really start
You know
it.
the story. My dad loaned me a couple $100,000 to do the restaurants. I did the first 2 restaurants. And then, so when we got married, I had 2 restaurants and a house. I'd say a year or 2 years after that, we tore that house down, built another big house, and then we sold it.
We sold it because
Someone knocked on the door.
I was 9 months pregnant. And someone's like, hey, I just saw you built this house. I'm a doctor. I work at the nearby house, so this would be a great home for you. Would you ever consider selling? And I'm shaking my head no. And of course you're saying, sure.
What's the number?
Yeah.
And we doubled our money on that house. Anyway, so.
But here's my thing. It was restaurants, trading, and that's real estate. We never bought homes to redo them, to tear them down, to rebuild as an investment. And we weren't flippers.
I did. Think of the house in Highland Park. Think of the property.
But that wasn't, well,
these were spec homes.
True. There were a couple that you did.
Those were some biggies that I'm like, well, I could do this while I have the restaurants. And I like to work. So I was always working, as you know, Mary. And I don't know, the dough was just flying in. Let's just say it was crazy money. Like between 10 and 20,000 a day. That's what you could make trading. It was like stealing. And I actually felt bad. Like how? Just me and a computer. How can this happen? But again, I'm not an investor. I didn't even know what half these companies did. And it went against me a lot of times. The day I lost that 1.2 was in the 2000, the bubble bust. And I got caught on the downside of Commerce One, if anyone remembers that company. And that's back when it would trade at $85, and an hour later it'd be at $58. And I got caught, in I got a margin call, and it was bad. I had to puke it up. And I puked it up. It was in pieces. But by the time I added it up, it was like 1.2 million I lost.
So another question, people were like, why didn't you have a savings thing? Why didn't you plan for the future?
Well, we had investments. Like investments were real estate. We had commercial real estate. We had residential real estate. We had cash in the bank. Like we never had a savings account for the kids' college. We just wrote a check for it. Why would I? There was so much money, it didn't matter. Like who cares?
But if you went back, would you have done things differently?
Yeah, I always laughed at the sports guys that make $50 million. I'm small potatoes compared to those guys. And I'm always like, why didn't you put 1 million away? And I remember we had
the athletes you're talking about.
Yeah,
that
like
go broke.
just put 1 away. Why didn't I put 1 away?
Yeah.
I don't know. It happens. And then when you get caught in the downward spiral, if I can give you any advice, is get out of everything immediately. Don't wait. Don't let your ego get involved. Your pride, any of that stuff. It all has to go out the door. It's business. It's what I learned from other friends of mine that lost some big money at certain times. Puke it up. Get rid of it. It'll be your fastest, quickest, best loss. It's just to get rid of it right now. It's like they call us trader trash. Trying to hang on to your wins, and you hate to lose. You got to puke up the losses as much as you pick up the wins.
Yeah.
Just at the end of the month, your balance sheet better be more wins than losses. That's simple. I'm not a smart guy. I've said this a million times. Why I never put $1 million away. First of all, there was so much money. For us, that was a lot of money. 15, 17 million, whatever it was. But it was right around when we got married, because after we got married, my sister passed away. My dad had a heart attack 6 months later. We had a lot of tragedy.
We had our honeymoon baby miscarriage. That was
So
heartbreaking.
we were kind of just in a lull, even though all this money was coming in and we weren't really organized yet. We bought our first house in Kenilworth, there's some funny rules in that town about like pickup trucks. I parked my pickup truck in the driveway because the garage was full of stuff. And the cops came and knocked on our door at 9 o'clock at night. They're like, you got to tell your worker he's got to go. We can't have pickup trucks. I'm like, what worker? You talking about the pickup truck? That's mine. The Ford F-150? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's mine. And so he said, we have an ordinance. I could put a Mercedes out there, but I can't put a pickup. And I'm like, I might have made a mistake here. But there's just some funny rich people stories, I call them, wealth stories.
But so let's go back to the restaurants. O'Neill's we had for 25 years. And while that was still just cooking and cranking, then we had 2 other restaurants that were new and the new up and coming trendy hot places to go, and we were cranking on those 2, and we finally saw a dip of O'Neill's starting to go down, and we kind of sat and talked about it, and I said, have you seen our clientele there? It's all
old people.
It's all, and people our age said they didn't want to go anymore. They loved the food they would carry out, but they said, I'm taking care of my parents that are now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and this is just a reminder of that, and I don't want it. So we saw that dying down, and we kind of tried to do a revamp with some menus, some revamp interior.
We closed for 3 months, and you designed the place, and it looked we went from looking like a old people's country club to Miami hotspot, all white, neon lights.
Fish tank, very
we brought
modern,
in that huge
cool
aquarium and
walnut tables, and that didn't really work, and then we finally had
after 5 more years, we're like,
pull the plug on that.
Yeah, get rid of this one.
And then focus all of your money, time, energy. I ran one restaurant, you ran the other one, basically.
Yeah, restaurants were good. They were our annuity. They were, constantly. We had real estate deals that would be good and some that were bad. We had, at one point I had a commercial property. I had 2 residential properties. I was building a home on one, we were living in another, and I bought another one. Of course, never asked the bank or anything. I just went and said, cash, no contingencies, no finance, I'll write you a check next month. And I went to the bank and they said, no man, you've got too much real estate in your portfolio. You've got to peel something off, or your income won't support all these properties. These were all multi-million-dollar properties, so it's not like they were 200,000. They were mega millions. And I said, wait a second, I can rehab this house. This thing will sell for $3 million. I'm telling you, I'm buying it for 1.5. I'll put like 600 into it. And I'll get $3 million for it. They denied me and turned me down. I had to go back as a 45-year-old man to my dad and say, Dad, can you co-sign this thing? And he's like, what are you calling me for on this stuff? I go, Dad, I'm over. They said I got too much real estate. Our income doesn't support it. So he signed on it. I did the deal.
Which house was this? Why am I not remembering?
Addington.
Oh.
So we sold it so we banked with, and I'm going to say the name, I don't care. We banked with Harris Bank. They're the ones that said, no, you can't do this. You're going to have to get a cosign or whatever. My dad cosigned. We put the house on the market for $3.2 million, something like $3.1 million.
And we took about 6 months to rehab it and redo it.
We fixed it up. It was beautiful.
But I wanted to live there. I love that. It was one of my favorite houses.
It was we had a lot of good ones. But the guy who bought it, the chairman of the board of Harris Bank, the bank that turned us down for the loan, their CEO paid cash on the spot. He was competing. There's 2 bids to buy it at $3.2 million. So that's kind of a cute story. I went back to the bank. I said, and I became friends with Frank at that time. And as you know, our kids were friends with their kids, and we would hang out with him. But we'd see him at parties or whatever. Nicest people in the world. But I told him that story later. I said, Frank, I banked with your bank forever, and they turned me down on this house. They didn't think I could ever get $3 million for the house. So he got a kick out of it. Anyway, that's how our first, roughly, when you say that's the first $2 million, we bought the house in Kenilworth. That was like $1.1 million or something, or $1 million, I don't remember. It was our first house.
Making it or spending it or investing it, or I don't know where you're going with $2 million, but yeah. And also, you and my brother were the ones driving around and found the house in Kenilworth, and you're like, hey, you found this house. I'm like, Okay.
Didn't I buy the house in Wisconsin too without you? I said I
Wisconsin
found a
for
house.
sure. This one I did do a walkthrough with you first before we bought it. But you and my
I was
brother
just screwing
found
around.
it.
I might have been with your brother again. Her older brother, Mary's older brother, is like my bestie. But we were in Wisconsin. I called Mary and I said, "There's a house on the lake up here for like $1 million. It needs to be torn down." And he kind of just said, "Well, if you think it's something we would like, then buy
I think
it."
I said, "Is there a beach there?" And you said yes. And I
Huge
said,
beach, huge property.
big yard. Sent me pictures. I'm like, well, you do if there's an inspection or whatever. It's an old house.
It was
and then
yeah.
we got it for what, 900?
Yeah, something like that. And then we put several million into it. We added 5,000 square feet.
You want to talk about that story?
That almost cost me my marriage. That's
So-
when we had.
Trifecta.
It was after
building
2008.
Trifecta.
Yep. And I had an extra 1.7 million. This sounds so terrible. I didn't know what to do with it. Like I couldn't get rid of it. This is after the market crashed. I didn't want to be in the market anymore. And we CD'd out. We maxed out on all of our trusts, everything, and we had an extra 1.7. And I said, well, I'm going to take $1 million of that and do Maria. I'm going to surprise her. I'm going to put this big addition on it because you would leave the house in the fall and never come back till the spring.
But let
And
me interject.
Mary's an interior decorator, designer.
Right, designer. But you also showed me plans. You had met with an architect, had plans
Did the
drawn
whole
up
thing behind your back.
behind my back, and you're like, but look at this, let's do this. And I said, right now we're building a restaurant, which I was gutting, working with all the contractors myself,
Spending
designing,
1.5 on that restaurant. Yep.
designing, and we made $3 million in sales in that first restaurant
Over
first year.
$3 million, yep.
So I was designing, doing menus, doing
So
everything.
I thought this would be a nice surprise for
Right,
you.
and I said, let's hold off on that. Let's concentrate on this because I'm going to need your help on this. And what did you do?
And then December comes around and Mary said, it was around Christmas, and she's like, let's go out and check on the house in Wisconsin. I'm there every day doing the construction, monitoring what's going on. And we came down the street, and Mary's like, what are all these trucks doing on our street? Our whole street's lined up with trucks. And
It
I
was
got up to
that?
the house, and
Wait.
I'm smiling like, it's under roof by now. At least the windows are in. I mean, I had it all timed out. As soon as she left, the bulldozers came the next Monday and
And I said, why did the boys park their cars on the street?
So anyway,
We had a
it
very
really
big
was bad.
driveway.
Like Mary freaked. She's like, what is going on? She saw the house was double in size. It's now 10,000 square feet. And I thought you were going to be laughing, and you're like, turn around. I'm going home. I don't want
Yeah,
to.
you're about to, let me get your bag. I said, nope, leave my bag in the car. I don't
You
know
were
what.
seriously pissed.
I'm still pissed, honey.
Okay. So that's the
Still
story
pissed.
on the money.